What's going on, folks? Welcome back to D-Life HD. This is Victor, and today we are going to be reviewing Star Wars Republic Commando for the Nintendo Switch. I am a big Star Wars fan, at least I used to be, before I feel like the series kind of went downhill recently, but I've got a lot of nostalgia for this era of Star Wars, that being around the Clone Wars, growing up with the Lego sets and the movies, so I'm really excited to bring you a review based on a game from that era, and I am ready to go. So without any further delay, let's jump right into it.
Switch it up. Switch it up. I was a worker, had to upgrade to a boss. Switch it up. Used to live in the hood, but had to upgrade to a loft. Switch it up.
First up, let's talk about the game modes. Republic Commando is primarily a first-person shooter, linear, campaign-driven game, so that's really all you're given with this game. It's not like you've got tons of game modes just pouring everywhere, lots of multiplayer options and all that kind of stuff. Really, all you've got is this campaign to run through, and of course you can play through it as many times as you want, but that's what you're there for. It is more of a military-style first-person shooter campaign-driven game, so sort of what you'd expect from a Call of Duty type game, but set in the Star Wars universe. That said, there's not really a lot more you can do beyond that, other than try to collect everything that is given to you within inside each level, but that's the main focus, the campaign of the game. Next, let's discuss the UI and graphics. Now, this is where the game really lets down. I feel like the graphics are literally just straight ripped from the Xbox PS2 generation of consoles. It's sort of like with the recent Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection, how they just HDified Super Mario 64 and Sunshine. It's basically the same exact thing. They just took the old style of graphics and made them in HD, and I'm a little bit confused as to how they made it full screen. It feels a little bit stretched, but it could be that it's just an expansion of what was seen on screen. I'm not 100% sure on that, but overall the graphics, yeah, you're definitely playing an Xbox game, an original Xbox game, and it's very evident that that's the case. Same to go with the UI. The UI feels extremely dated. They have updated all of the sort of button prompts and that kind of thing, so you can remap whatever buttons you want, and it shows it on the actual Nintendo Switch controllers, and so that's in there, but overall it just feels super wonky, and you can definitely see its age in that way, even though they've made it in HD. That said, also there's a pretty bad, at least on the Nintendo Switch version, I haven't tried any other version, frame issue with this game. I feel like every single time I get into combat, it's just running really choppy. Again, that could just be the Switch version, but that's the particular version I'm reviewing, so I'm not sure about the other versions on other consoles, but this Nintendo Switch version feels really sluggish when you're actually in combat, and that's kind of the entire game, so that's a little bit of a problem when it comes to that, and it really detracted from my experience playing it. I wish they had done a little bit more for the graphics, but I guess it's sort of like what they've done with all the rest of the Star Wars games on the Nintendo Switch. They basically just put them straight ports with a little bit of polish around the edges of everything, I guess, making it HD and such. But overall, there's a lot to be desired when it comes to the UI and graphics, especially considering those frame drops when you're in combat. Next up, let's talk about the controls and gameplay. Now, starting off with the controls, we're going to get the negative out of the way first. These controls are extremely dated. You can tell that this is a very old first-person shooter style of game. First-person shooters today, I feel like they've really nailed how the controls are set up. And the good thing is, like I said with the UI, you can actually remap all of the buttons. So I ended up remapping the buttons to fit more of a modern first-person shooter style. And while it's not 100% close to that, it is relatively similar in that design. So if you don't feel like the base controls are very flush and you want something that's more online with like a modern first-person shooter, I would consider definitely checking out the remapping function of the controls. I mean, once you've remapped it, it works really well, and so that's exactly what I did. Talking about the gameplay here, though, what's here? The gameplay that's actually like there amongst the frame drops? It's really good. I mean, it's like any other campaign-driven first-person shooter, but you have the ability to command the other 3 members in your small 4-person squad to go and do certain things. Like, at certain points you have to detonate a giant wall, so you might place the bomb on the wall and then back up and say, hey man, you go detonate the bomb, and you can command them in that way. Or, hey, I need you to take out these enemies while I'm hacking into this system right here, something like that. It's really handy, and I think that function is really cool, and that's absolutely something that I wanted to see from a Star Wars type game. Because, again, I've never played this game before, but it comes from an era of Star Wars that I really like. I like the Clone Wars a lot, and so having that really down-to-earth military style within the Star Wars universe is really cool. It's something that's not really present within like the Star Wars Battlefront games, where it's all combat, and this game, it's definitely like special forces doing a lot of sneaking around through the caverns on Geonosis, and it's really cool. And there's a fair amount of diversity in the gameplay because you've got different types of enemies you're taking out. I mean, you're taking out droids, you're taking out these bugs from Geonosis. It's a really cool setting, and I think it works really well with the military special force style of combat, because it's not really like you are this giant army with expendable soldiers. Your 4 people in the game are really important to you, you and the other 3 members, and so it's really important that you stay strong and take control of the rest of your teammates, protect them, have them send out to protect you when you're trying to do certain tasks, and it's really fun in that regard, and I think that's where this game shines most of all, and I'd have to say that is my favorite part of it.
Welcome, little one. This is your first day. Your designation will be RP-01/138.
As previously stated, this is more of a stealthy type campaign-driven game, so it's not like you're going to have a rippin' Doom-style soundtrack or anything like that. It's a lot of ambient noise in the soundtrack. I mean, it's not a super long game, so the soundtrack's only about 30 minutes long if you look it up on YouTube for the whole thing. So I wouldn't expect something John Williams related from this game, you know, a beautiful score to set around the game. It's more like ambient noise or sort of blood pumping, sneaky style of music that you might hear in like a stealth type game. The sound itself is pretty good. I mean, overall, you've got a lot of classic sound effects for guns from Star Wars, and the clone trooper sort of commando characters that surround you have that classic clone trooper British type accent that you'd see in the Clone Wars show or the movies. So the music does leave a little bit to be desired, especially considering it's a Star Wars game, which Star Wars is sort of known for having this awesome John Williams soundtrack. But overall, I don't fault it much because it is sort of a sneaky campaign style game. I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to the story of this game, I kind of had to do some research because I wasn't paying attention a whole lot. I mean, I was there to shoot droids and stuff. That was my main focus. But the game is set at the beginning of the Clone Wars. So for those who are not familiar with Star Wars, the Separatists have constructed this enormous droid army. And so the Republic is teaming up with a group of people or another race who are creating this clone army of this one bounty hunter named Jango Fett. So it's this enormous army that is clones. And so you, at the beginning of the game, sort of see your life growing up as a clone being prepared for war, and the actual story aspect of it as you jump into the game is you are sent on a special forces task to take over for another group of clones who ended up all getting killed, to go and destroy a specific droid factory. So a factory where the enemies, the bad guys, are creating their army. And that's really all I got from it. I mean, there could be more that I'm forgetting, but as far as I know, the story really takes a back burner. I feel like that's how it is with a lot of these campaign games. It's kind of ironic. I mean, it's a single-player experience, but what you're really there for is the gunslinging, first-person action. Alright, let's give this a final rating. Star Wars Republic Commando overall has a lot of good meat on the bone, but it's a little bit lackluster in the port job. I mean, this is a very old game at this point, and it's sort of in that weird mid-era between retro and modern, where, you know, games on the NES and the Genesis, those are pretty fun to look back on, and then it's easy to play games from now, but everything in between sort of feels really clunky. You know, games from the original Xbox, a lot of GameCube games. So you shouldn't expect this game to have a lot of quality of life upgrades with the port job, because it's really just sort of directly dropped onto the Switch. Also remember those frame issues where in most combat experiences it's pretty choppy, so prepare for that. And if you're looking for a 7, 8, 9 hour campaign to just sit down and relax and have some gunslinging, then Star Wars Republic Commando is definitely for you. But if you're expecting something beyond that, maybe hold off and wait for a sale. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments down below what you thought of this video. We love talking to you guys. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like these. Lastly, check out our Twitter account for gameplay of the latest releases. But most importantly of all, remember to always stay one up.